A few years back, before quarantine, I was sharing with some students one night the fact that I have been killed twice and brought back to life. And a student who was not of any particular religious persuasion asked a very relevant and probating question. She asked me if my experiences with um, surviving and returning from death had given me a greater belief in and appreciation for a life after death. To my own great personal disappointment, and possibly to her discouragement and a missed opportunity to perhaps have a greater discussion with this young lady, I admitted that it had not. And I have begun to think as we approach Easter Sunday about what my thoughts might be on a new life, on an eternal life, and on the life to come. You may, 20 years ago or so, there was this big rash of books published about people who had survived or had died and had been resuscitated or revived, and their experiences while they were dead. And I don't feel comfortable sharing what I recollect from that time, only that the things that I experienced should have reassured me in a principle that I already know. Whether you're religious or not, we in STEM do teach our students the laws of thermodynamics, that nothing is created or destroyed, it is only changed from one form to another. It is ironic to me then that so many of my scientific brethren believe that when they die, they will simply cease to exist. The matter, of course, of which we are made once began in a star. It became this earth, and then somehow it has become incorporated into the mortal coil in which we are now housed. When we die, the organic materials of which we are comprised will be repurposed by other organisms and eventually maybe find their way into other living things who will then take on a life in our place. In essence, this means that even at the most rudimentary of terms, we don't cease to be, we just become something else. Perhaps this is the reason why there are religions who believe in reincarnation, because in a quite literal sense, the cells or the materials of which my cells are comprised will come back in the form of another organism at some future date. That doesn't mean I am that organism or that my conscience will be present in that organism, but in one way they are correct. And in one way, Christians are also correct. What we are is not just the materials of which our mortal body is comprised. We are an amalgamation of experiences, of attitudes, opinions, of choices that we have made. And those things will affect us moving forward. A lot of religions believe in karma, that things come back and that you reap what you sow. And we watch a lot of people not reap what they sow in this world. And again, those religions that believe in reincarnation believe that the karma dictates ultimately what form in which they are rebirthed. I don't believe that that's the case. I do, however, believe that when you die, what you actually are will be affected appropriately. And so it begs the question, as we consider Easter, how we wish to be affected. What kind of echoes do we want our lives to have in the eternities? I don't have any kids, and there's not a 0% chance, but a very small chance that I will ever have any kids of my own. And so it's in all likelihood 100 years from now, no one will remember anything that I said or did, because there'll be no reason to remember me in particular. That doesn't mean that things I say and do won't be remembered. They just won't be attributed to me because there's no one to carry on my legacy. But it's more than just how this world is affected. I have died, and I did not cease to exist. I do remember things, and I didn't see Jesus. I didn't see God. I didn't have any of those experiences. My experience was much, much more akin to those written by C.S. Lewis in his book, The Great Divorce. If you haven't read it, read it. That's more what my experience was like without the bus ride through hell at the beginning. And thinking back on that, about his writings, about his life, I have to wonder now if C.S. Lewis has also died. because he didn't write it to aggrandize his status or his position, to sell books, to make money. He wrote it because he wanted to inspire people to believe in and move toward Christ. Does my life inspire people to believe in and move toward Christ? I'm not sure that I can say yes. I can say that I do try to inspire and uplift. I work in an academic institution, an institution of higher learning, where we are very greatly discouraged from discussing things of faith and faith. Many of the faculty members are formerly religious. Some of them are anti-religious, and some are irreligious. And students are routinely surprised to come into my office and discover, it's right up here, that I have a calendar here with paintings by Greg Olson hanging above my desk, where everyone else has their diplomas and their achievements and their photos of their grandiose vacations. But I don't think that it's immediately obvious to anyone, and they're usually surprised that I am a believer. I'm not sure that's the legacy I want. I'm not sure that's the story I want to be told. I have probably missed a myriad of opportunities to affect people in a more meaningful way, just like this original story, where I have been unable and unprepared to answer an important question. I think about this girl a lot because she asked a question that I think is pivotal. Does your experience strengthen your faith? We all have experiences and trials, and they will either strengthen our faith or they will destroy it. And ultimately, we make the decision of which road that we take. I guess in the affirmative, I can say that despite all the challenges through which I have been asked to pass, my faith has not been broken. I get knocked down, in the words of Chumbawamba, but I get up again, and they're never going to keep me down. And maybe that's the most important thing. After I returned home from my mission, which was a great disappointment, my mission president told me this, among a long conversation: your success is that you continued in the absence of success. I've never quit and left the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints because it is true. It is a church endowed with this power that preaches his gospel and his doctrine, that acknowledges him as its leader, and that receives direction from his mouth and his hand. And I will never deny it because I know it, and I know that God knows it. And that if I deny it, he will know that I have committed the only sin that I know of which a man cannot be forgiven. That is to know there is a God and say there is none. And maybe that's why I didn't see him when I died, is because he wanted to protect me, because he loves me. And I will say this one final thing. I was given a choice about whether I stayed dead or came back. I came back, not because I wanted to, not because it would be better for me, but because he said, well, whoever the person speaking to me said, it would be better if I stayed. And so I did. And I hope that through my life, my work, my conversations, and my example, that maybe someone will be brought closer to Christ. And if so, let me know. I'd love to rejoice with you in the hereafter. I'll be waiting for you when you get there, because, things come in threes, so it's only a matter of time before it happens again. Godspeed. Happy Easter. Consider what story you want to be told. What the greatest story of your life might be. The Easter story is definitely the greatest story about Christ ever told. Godspeed. Happy Easter.